Gold has always held a special allure, a symbol of wealth, power, and permanence. In ancient Rome, this was no different. The Romans were practical people, and for a long time, their economy ran on silver and bronze coins. But as their empire grew, so did their ambitions and their expenses. The first Roman gold coins, known as the aureus, meaning golden, appeared during the Republic. They were not for buying bread at the local market. Instead, these early gold pieces were minted for extraordinary circumstances, primarily to pay soldiers during massive military campaigns, like the wars against Hannibal. They were a way for generals to guarantee the loyalty of their legions with something universally valuable and easy to transport across vast distances. The real story of the aureus as a regular part of Roman life begins with one of Rome's most famous figures, Julius Caesar. After his conquest of Gaul, Caesar returned to Rome not just with victories, but with enormous amounts of captured gold. He used this treasure to mint millions of aurei. These coins were stamped with his own image, a bold and unprecedented move that broke with tradition. Before this, coins usually featured gods or long-dead heroes. By putting his face on a gold coin, Caesar was making a powerful statement. He was linking his personal authority directly to the wealth and stability of Rome, a message that was not lost on his rivals or his supporters. After Caesar's death, his adopted son and heir, Augustus, became the first Roman emperor. He understood the power of coinage as a tool of propaganda. Augustus standardized the aureus, fixing its weight at about 8 grams of pure gold. These coins were circulated throughout the vast Roman Empire, from the misty shores of Britain to the deserts of Syria. Each coin carried the emperor's portrait on one side and a symbolic image on the other, perhaps a goddess of victory, a depiction of a military triumph, or a reference to peace and prosperity. The aureus became more than just money. It was a miniature billboard, spreading the emperor's image and his message of power to every corner of his domain. For nearly 3 centuries, the aureus was the backbone of large-scale commerce and state payments in the Roman world. It was the coin of senators, wealthy merchants, and high-ranking army officers. However, as the empire faced economic crises and political instability in the 3rd century AD, the quality of the aureus began to decline. Emperors, desperate for funds, started reducing the amount of gold in each coin, a process known as debasement. This erosion of trust in the currency mirrored the slow erosion of the empire itself. People began to hoard the older, purer coins, and the once mighty aureus lost its unshakable reputation, paving the way for a new golden age of coinage. As the Roman Empire grappled with internal turmoil and economic chaos, a new emperor, Constantine the Great, came to power with a vision for reform. In the early 4th century AD, he introduced a revolutionary new gold coin called the solidus. The name itself, derived from the Latin word for solid, was a promise of stability and reliability. The solidus was slightly lighter than the old aureus, weighing about 4.5 grams, but it was made of nearly pure gold. Constantine's genius was not just in creating a new coin, but in ensuring its purity would be fiercely protected. This commitment to quality would make the solidus one of the most successful and long-lasting currencies in human history. The solidus quickly replaced the debased aureus and became the standard for international trade. Its influence was immense, extending far beyond the borders of the Roman Empire. From Persia to the Germanic tribes of the north, the solidus was recognized and accepted as a trustworthy store of value. When the Western Roman Empire eventually collapsed in the 5th century, the solidus lived on. It remained the official currency of the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire, with its capital in Constantinople. For centuries, these Byzantine gold coins, often called Byzants in the West, dominated the trade routes of the Mediterranean and beyond. A golden thread connecting the old world of Rome to the emerging medieval era. The incredible longevity of the solidus is a testament to the Byzantines' ability to maintain its quality. For over 700 years, from its introduction by Constantine until the 11th century, the coin's weight and gold content remained remarkably consistent. This stability was the bedrock of the Byzantine economy, funding its magnificent armies, its vast bureaucracy, and the construction of breathtaking monuments like the Hagia Sophia. In a fragmented and often chaotic early medieval Europe where gold coinage was rare, the Byzantine solidus was the undisputed king of currencies. It was the dollar of its day, a universal measure of wealth that everyone, from Viking traders to Italian merchants, coveted. However, nothing lasts forever. As the Byzantine Empire faced relentless pressure from external enemies and internal strife from the 11th century onwards, it too resorted to debasing its iconic coin. The gold content of the solidus was gradually reduced to finance wars and pay for political expenses. This decline in quality mirrored the fading power of the empire itself. As the solidus lost its reputation for purity, a vacuum was created in the world of international finance. This opened the door for new powers, particularly the burgeoning merchant city-states of Italy, to step in and mint their own gold coins, heralding a new chapter in the story of European money. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire, gold coins largely vanished from daily life in Italy and the rest of Western Europe. The complex trade-based economy that required them had fragmented. For centuries, commerce was conducted through barter or with small silver and bronze coins. Gold was hoarded by kings and high-ranking clergy, but it did not circulate. This began to change around the 13th century. A commercial revolution was taking place, and at its heart were the dynamic and ambitious city-states of Italy. Cities like Genoa, Venice, and Florence were becoming fantastically wealthy through trade with the East, and they needed a high-value currency to manage their booming international enterprises. In 1252, a landmark event occurred in the city of Florence. The city's government, the Signoria, decided to mint a new gold coin, the first of its kind to be produced in significant quantities in Italy for centuries. They called it the Fiorino d'Oro, or the Golden Florin. This was a bold statement of Florence's economic power and its cultural confidence. The coin was struck from 3.5 grams of virtually pure gold, a deliberate decision to create a currency that was stable and trustworthy, unlike the debased coins of other kingdoms. The florin was a tool of commerce, designed to facilitate the massive transactions of Florence's powerful bankers and wool merchants. The design of the florin was simple yet iconic, and it quickly became famous across Europe. On one side, it featured the city's emblem, a stylized lily, known as the Fiore, from which the coin took its name. This was a clear symbol of civic pride, linking the coin's value directly to the reputation of Florence itself. On the other side was a standing figure of the city's patron saint, St. John the Baptist. This religious imagery was not just decorative, it was a solemn promise. It invoked divine authority to guarantee the coin's weight and purity, acting as a sacred oath to all who used it that its value would not be tampered with. The impact of the florin was immediate and profound. It was so reliable that it was quickly adopted as a standard unit of account across Europe. Merchants from England to Hungary would record their debts and credits in florins, even if they never physically handled the coins. Its success inspired imitation, and soon other cities and kingdoms began minting their own gold coins, often copying the florin's weight and design. The florin marked a turning point, signaling the return of gold as a central pillar of the European economy, and cementing the reputation of Italian bankers and merchants as the masters of international finance in the late Middle Ages. While Florence was establishing its dominance on land, with its powerful banks and the golden florin, another Italian city-state was building a maritime empire. The Republic of Venice, the Queen of the Adriatic, was a powerhouse of trade. its fleets connecting Europe with the rich markets of the Byzantine Empire and the Middle East. To manage its vast web of commerce, Venice needed a gold currency of its own. In 1284, just a few decades after the florins debut, Venice introduced its own gold coin. It was called the ducat, or zecchino, a name derived from the Venetian mint, the zecca. This was a direct challenge to the supremacy of the Florentine florin. The Venetian ducat was deliberately designed to compete with the florin, matching its weight and purity almost exactly at around 3.5 grams of nearly pure gold. Venice's leaders understood that in the world of international trade, reputation was everything. They made a solemn vow, which they upheld for over 500 years, to never change the coin's metal content or design. This incredible consistency made the ducat the most trusted and stable currency of its time. Merchants knew that a Venetian ducat minted in the 14th century was just as valuable as one minted in the 18th century, a level of reliability that was unmatched anywhere else in the world. The imagery on the ducat was a masterclass in political branding, perfectly reflecting Venice's unique identity. One side of the coin depicted the ruler of Venice, the Doge, kneeling before the city's patron saint, Saint Mark. This image subtly communicated that the Doge's power was granted by divine authority and was exercised in service to the Republic. On the other side, it showed a figure of Christ, reinforcing the religious guarantee of the coin's value. Unlike the Florentine florin, which celebrated the city and its saint, the Venetian ducat emphasized the state and its divinely sanctioned leader, a reflection of Venice's more oligarchic and state-focused political structure. The ducat's influence spread with Venice's trade routes. It became the preferred currency for commerce throughout the Mediterranean, the Levant, and even as far as India. Its name and standard were copied by numerous other countries, and the term ducat became a generic word for a gold coin in many languages. The rivalry between the florin and the ducat was more than a monetary competition. It was a contest between two different models of power. Florence's florin represented the wealth of its bankers and guilds, while Venice's ducat represented the might of its state-controlled maritime empire. Together, they dominated the European economy for centuries. The Renaissance in Italy was a period of incredible artistic flowering and intense political competition, and gold coins were at the very center of this dynamic world. The wealth generated by trade and banking, symbolized by the florin and the ducat, is what paid for the masterpieces of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and Raphael. A commission for a grand fresco or a magnificent sculpture would often be specified in a contract for a certain number of gold ducats or florins. These coins were the fuel for the creative engine of the Renaissance, turning commercial profit into timeless works of art that glorified both the patron and the city. The rulers of the various Italian states, from the Dukes of Milan to the popes in Rome, also understood the symbolic power of gold coinage. They began to issue their own magnificent gold coins, not just for trade, but as a form of propaganda and a display of personal prestige. These were not the simple uniform designs of the florin and ducat. Instead, Renaissance rulers minted large, impressive gold coins featuring highly realistic and individualized portraits of themselves, crafted in the new artistic style of the period. These coins were mobile sculptures, miniature monuments that could circulate and proclaim the power, sophistication, and dynastic claims of their issuer. A prime example of this trend was the gold scudo, a name derived from the shield, or scutum, that often featured in the design. Many states, including the Papal States in Rome, issued their own versions of the scudo. These coins often featured the family coat of arms, or, in the case of the papacy, the keys of St. Peter. When a powerful family like the Sforza in Milan or the Medici in Florence became dukes, they would issue gold coins with their own likeness, adopting the style of the ancient Roman emperors. This was a deliberate attempt to connect their rule to the glory of the classical past and assert their legitimacy as modern-day princes. These beautiful coins also served as important diplomatic tools. They were given as prestigious gifts to foreign ambassadors, used to pay for the services of mercenary captains, and displayed in court treasuries as a tangible measure of a ruler's wealth and power. The quality of the art on a coin was a direct reflection of the sophistication of the court that issued it. A beautifully engraved portrait by a famous artist on a piece of pure gold sent a clear message. This was a ruler of taste, wealth, and authority. In the turbulent world of Renaissance Italy, a bag of gold coins could be as mighty as an army. The centuries following the Renaissance were a period of decline and foreign domination for the Italian peninsula. The great city-states lost their independence, and Italy became a battleground for the major European powers, primarily Spain, France, and Austria. During this time, a confusing mix of currencies circulated. The old ducats and florins continued to be used, but they were joined by the gold coins of foreign rulers, such as Spanish doubloons and French louis d'or. Each region had its own system, making trade complicated. The once mighty Italian gold coin, a symbol of independence and innovation, now reflected the peninsula's political fragmentation. The dream of a unified Italy began to take shape in the 19th century, a movement known as the Risorgimento. As nationalist sentiment grew, so did the desire for a single national currency to replace the jumble of foreign and regional money. When the Kingdom of Italy was finally proclaimed in 1861, with King Victor Emmanuel II as its monarch, one of the new nation's first priorities was to create a unified monetary system. This led to the birth of the Italian lira. To give the new currency prestige and stability on the international stage, the government decided to issue gold coins alongside the more common silver and paper notes. The new Italian gold coins were minted in several denominations, most famously the 20 lira piece. These coins were designed to conform to the standards of the Latin Monetary Union, a system that included France, Belgium, and Switzerland. This meant an Italian 20 lira gold coin contained the same amount of gold, about 5.8 grams, as a French 20 franc coin, making them interchangeable in international trade. The design of these coins was a powerful symbol of the new nation. One side featured a portrait of the king, representing the unified monarchy, while the other displayed the coat of arms of the ruling House of Savoy, surrounded by a laurel wreath. These gold lira coins were a source of immense national pride. They were tangible proof that Italy had rejoined the club of major European powers, with a modern, stable, and respectable currency backed by gold. They circulated widely for several decades, used for large transactions, and as a secure store of wealth for ordinary families. However, this golden era was not to last. The immense economic pressures of the First World War forced Italy, like all other combatant nations, to abandon the gold standard. Gold coins were withdrawn from circulation to pay for the war effort, and paper money became the norm. The golden lira had served its purpose, but its time as everyday money was over. After the First World War, the dream of returning to the gold standard flickered for a time. But the economic realities of the post-war world and the Great Depression made it impossible. Gold coins disappeared from the pockets of ordinary Italians, becoming a relic of a bygone era. The Italian lira continued as a fiat currency, its value no longer tied to a physical amount of gold. For decades, gold's role in the Italian economy was confined to the vaults of the central bank, where it was held as a national reserve, a silent guarantor of the country's financial stability, much like in other modern nations around the world. The second half of the 20th century saw a new purpose emerge for gold coins: commemoration and collection. The Italian mint, the Istituto Poligrafico e Zecca dello Stato in Rome, began to issue special, non-circulating gold coins. These were not intended to be used as money for buying goods, but were created as beautiful objects for collectors and investors. Known as commemorative coins, they marked significant historical anniversaries, celebrated Italian art and culture, or honored important national figures. These modern issues carried on the Renaissance tradition of using coinage as a medium for artistic expression, often featuring stunning designs crafted by leading engravers. A major shift occurred in 2002 when Italy, along with 11 other European nations, adopted the euro as its official currency. The long history of the lira came to an end. However, Italy's tradition of minting gold coins did not. Today, the Italian Mint continues to produce a range of exquisite gold collector coins denominated in euros. These coins are legal tender, but their actual value is far greater than their face value because of their gold content and artistic worth. They are highly sought after by numismatists, coin collectors around the world, who appreciate them for their beauty and their connection to Italy's rich monetary history. From the Roman aureus that paid the legions, to the Byzantine solidus that dominated medieval trade, to the Florentine florin and Venetian ducat that funded the Renaissance, Italy's story is deeply intertwined with its gold coins. These small circular objects tell a grand story of empire, trade, art, and the birth of a nation. Today, while gold no longer functions as daily money, it retains its powerful symbolic meaning. The modern gold euro collector coins are a testament to this enduring legacy, a golden thread that connects the Italy of today to its glorious and influential past, reminding us of the timeless allure of this precious metal.